This Golden State Warriors offseason has been one of the most frustrating in recent memory. The team missed out on LeBron James, failed to land any marquee free agent, and ended up spending the summer essentially bringing back their own players. Extensions were handed to DeAnthony Melton, Kristaps Porzingis, and Al Horford. Draymond Green got a one-year deal worth $27.7 million with an implicit no-trade clause waiver. On the surface, it looks like another offseason where Golden State stood still while the rest of the league moved forward. But here's the thing, that might actually be the plan. According to analyst Sam Vecenie on the Game Theory podcast, the Warriors are deliberately organizing their financial structure to position themselves for a massive move in the summer of 2027. Vecenie laid it out plainly. The team should have at least one max contract slot available next offseason, and they appear to be building toward that moment with calculated patience. The key piece of the puzzle is the Draymond Green contract. By committing to just 1 year at a relatively controlled number, and with the Jimmy Butler deal still on the books for now, the Warriors are keeping their options open. If Butler is not extended and Green's next deal comes in at a significantly lower annual figure, the books clear up considerably heading into the 2027 free agency period. That would give Golden State the financial room to make one final major splash alongside Stephen Curry, without necessarily trading away the draft capital that they have been so reluctant to move. For now, the 2026-27 season looks bleak. Jimmy Butler will not be available until at least mid-season after his knee injury. Moses Moody is expected to miss all or most of the campaign. A team that went 37 wins and 45 losses last year is starting the new season with major rotation pieces as sidelined. Playoff contention seems like a stretch, and nobody should expect Golden State to compete for a championship this year. Once that season concludes, however, the financial landscape shifts dramatically. The Warriors only have 4 players currently under contract for the 2027-28 season: Moses Moody, rookie Axel Endeborg, Guy Santos, and Will Richard. Stephen Curry is expected to sign a max extension this offseason that covers him through that year. Kristaps Porzingis and Al Horford both have player options for the second year of their respective deals, meaning the team retains flexibility. The 2027 free agency class could be historic. Among the players who will either be free agents or hold player options that offseason are Anthony Davis, Giannis Antetokounmpo, Nikola Jokic, Karl Anthony Towns, Kevin Durant, and Kawhi Leonard. That is one of the most star-studded lists in recent memory. Of course, not all of them will actually enter the open market. Most are expected to exercise their options or reach extensions with their current teams. But some will slip through. Kevin Durant and Kawhi Leonard are widely considered the most realistic candidates to become available. Leonard is the only one on the list without a player option, and his situation with the Toronto Raptors remains complicated as the NBA's investigation into the Los Angeles Clippers' alleged salary cap violations continues to cast a shadow over his future. Durant's situation in Houston will depend entirely on how the Rockets perform. Even beyond that elite tier, the depth of the 2027 class is impressive. Brandon Ingram holds a player option. Michael Porter Jeter will enter restricted free agency. Julius Randle has a player option as well. Tyler Herro will be an unrestricted free agent. None of those names carry the same ceiling as the top of the class, but the Warriors would have the flexibility to pursue any of them. For years, Golden State has hesitated to pursue stars through trades because of the steep draft capital cost. The 2025 trade deadline near deal for Kevin Durant fell apart partly because the price was too high, and the team has repeatedly passed on opportunities that would have required gutting their future assets. Free agency offers a different path, one that does not require giving up picks or young players. The timeline is tight, Stephen Curry is not getting younger, and the window to build a genuine contender around him is narrowing. The front office appears to understand that reality. By staying patient this offseason, keeping the books manageable, and avoiding long-term financial commitments that would limit their ability to act in 2027, the Warriors are making a calculated bet that the best path to one more title run goes through next summer's free agency period. Whether that bet pays off depends on factors beyond Golden State's control. Which players actually hit the market, what the competition looks like, and whether Curry remains at or near his elite level by then. But the stage is being set. The Warriors are not standing still by accident. They are waiting for their moment, and they believe 2027 could be it. Gary Payton II is coming back. The veteran guard agreed to a one-year deal worth $3.9 million with the Golden State Warriors on Saturday, per ESPN's Shams Charania. Because of the structure of the contract, his actual cap hit lands at just $2.4 million, making him one of the most affordable pieces on the entire roster. Payton will now suit up for a 7th season in a Golden State uniform, a remarkable run for a player who spent years bouncing around the league without finding a real home. The Warriors currently have 13 players signed to standard contracts. 12 of those players ended last season already under contract with the team. The only new face in the group is first-year player Axel Endeborg, the rookie who generated buzz throughout the offseason. In other words, the Warriors did not significantly reshape their roster this summer. They went 37-45 last season and are heading into the new year with largely the same group. So what does bringing Payton back actually mean? Let's break it down. At 33 years old, Payton is far from the defensive dynamo that he was during the Warriors' 2021-22 championship run. That season, he was arguably the team's best on-ball defender, capable of shutting down opposing guards, disrupting passing lanes, and sparking transition offense with timely steals. He ranked in the 68th percentile in defensive rating swing that year, according to Cleaning the Glass. It was a career-defining stretch that earned him a well-deserved reputation as one of the league's elite perimeter defenders. Since then, however, the numbers tell a more complicated story. Over the past 4 seasons, Payton has actually delivered a better offensive rating swing than a defensive rating swing in most years, a reversal from what made him famous. More troubling, his last 2 seasons show a clear defensive decline. In 2024-25, his defensive net rating swing ranked in just the 22nd percentile. In 2025-26, it dropped further to the 18th percentile. Those are not the numbers of a lockdown defender. The eye test, though, tells a slightly different story. Payton continues to be a disruptive presence on the perimeter, generating steals that can flip the momentum of a game in an instant. Over 4 of the last 5 seasons, the Warriors have forced more turnovers with Payton on the court than without him. His ability to create chaos on defense, even if his overall defensive metrics have declined, remains genuinely useful. On offense, Payton shot 58.3% from the field last season, scoring most of his points in the paint despite being just 6'2". That efficiency is impressive, even if his role is a limited one. He is not a playmaker, cannot create off the dribble consistently, and does not space the floor as a three-point shooter. Those limitations mean his fit on most NBA rosters would be awkward at best. The Warriors are one of the few teams that can actually deploy him effectively because of how their system functions around Stephen Curry's gravity as a shooter. Perhaps the most compelling argument for bringing Payton back is availability. With Jimmy Butler sidelined indefinitely due to a knee injury and Moses Moody also expected to miss significant time, the Warriors desperately need players who can stay on the court. Payton appeared in 73 games last season, ranking second on the team in games played. That durability has real value on a roster that is already dealing with significant injury concerns heading into training camp. His estimated performance efficiency metrics also compared favorably to other options the Warriors were reportedly considering. According to one report, his estimated plus-minus last season was notably better than any of the 5 free agents the team had identified as potential targets for remaining roster spots. That context matters when evaluating whether bringing Payton back was genuinely the right call. Could the Warriors have found someone who gives them more in a traditional sense? A guard who can shoot threes, create off screens, or facilitate in pick and roll situations? Possibly. The argument for moving on from Payton in favor of a more conventionally skilled depth guard is a fair one, and some analysts made it during the offseason. The team does rank as one of the weaker paint scoring groups in the league, and Payton's unconventional skill set does not address that structural problem. But given the options actually available, the cost, and Payton's proven ability to stay healthy and contribute, bringing him back is a defensible decision. The Warriors needed reliability, and they found it at the veteran minimum. As long as he produces numbers close to what he has delivered over the past couple of seasons, he will be worth a roster spot. Final grade B. Not a bold move, but a smart and practical one given the circumstances. The Golden State Warriors are reportedly keeping an eye on Kevin Durant. According to Clutch Points reporter Brett Siegel, the team is prepared to pursue a Durant trade if the Houston Rockets' season falls apart. It is a plan that makes sense on the surface. Durant is still one of the most gifted scorers in the history of the sport, and pairing him with Stephen Curry would theoretically create one of the most lethal offensive duos that basketball has ever seen. But there is a fundamental problem with this strategy, and it has nothing to do with salary caps or draft capital. The problem is Kevin Durant himself. Durant does not want to be a Golden State Warrior again. He has said it out loud. He has said it on camera. And there is no credible reason to believe his feelings on the matter have changed. The backstory here is important. At the 2025 trade deadline, the Warriors and the Phoenix Suns were close to completing a deal that would have brought Durant back to the Bay Area. The trade nearly went through. It was Durant and his business partner Rich Kleiman who ultimately stopped it from happening, according to multiple sources familiar with the situation. Durant cited several reasons for pulling the plug. He did not want to uproot his life midseason, he was unhappy that the two teams were negotiating about him without his direct involvement, and he wanted to finish the year with his teammates in Phoenix. On the surface, those sound like reasonable situational concerns. But then came October 2025 and a candid segment for Netflix's Starting 5 series. In that moment, Durant dropped any pretense of diplomatic language. He spoke directly about the trade attempt and made his feelings about the Warriors clear. His words were not vague or politically framed. He told his representatives, "Do not send me back to Golden State." He said, and this is paraphrased to avoid exact quotation, that if a trade was going to happen, it needed to go anywhere other than the Warriors. He made clear that he did not want to revisit that chapter of his career and did not want the organization to gut their assets to acquire him. Analysts have spent considerable time speculating about the deeper reasons behind those feelings. Some have suggested it relates to the complicated nature of his original departure from the team in 2019. Others have pointed to lingering tensions around how that era ended and how his legacy there was perceived. Durant has never addressed those angles directly, which has led to ongoing speculation. But whatever the underlying reasons, the outcome is the same. He actively blocked a trade to Golden State just over a year ago, and then went on a major television platform to confirm that decision publicly. Reporter Siegel acknowledged this tension in his own piece, writing that whether Durant would actually want to return to the Warriors is the big question without a clear answer. But the evidence suggests there is, in fact, a very clear answer. Just not the one the Warriors or their fans would want to hear beyond Durant's personal feelings. The Warriors' broader strategy of waiting for a distressed asset carries real risks. The approach did work spectacularly with Jimmy Butler, who was acquired for a package that included one low first-round pick, Andrew Wiggins, and salary filler. Butler had demanded a trade, which stripped the Miami Heat of leverage and allowed Golden State to pounce at a low price. If a similar situation develops with another star, the Warriors could benefit again. But time is working against them. Stephen Curry will be 39 years old during the 2026-27 season. Every month that passes without a significant upgrade to the roster is a month taken off the back end of his prime, waiting for distressed assets to emerge. Whether Durant or anyone else, means accepting that the best-case scenario could still arrive too late to build a real championship contender. And even if the ideal player does become available, the Warriors could be outbid by teams with more financial flexibility or more attractive rosters for incoming stars. The advice from some analysts is direct: stop waiting and be willing to pay market value in a trade for the right player before the deadline. That means being proactive rather than reactive. The distressed asset strategy is a clever one in theory, but applying it specifically to Durant, a player who has vocally stated his unwillingness to return, is not a strategy, it is wishful thinking. The Warriors would be far better served identifying players who actually want to be in San Francisco and pursuing them with urgency, rather than monitoring a superstar who has already given his answer. Golden State's front office is smart enough to know all of this. The question is whether they will act accordingly, and whether they have the courage to spend real assets before the situation becomes desperate. The Warriors have been one of the most hesitant big market teams in the league when it comes to trading draft picks, but patience alone does not win championships. Stephen Curry deserves better than a front office that waits for the perfect storm that may never arrive.